Hey everybody. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Devo with Bowo. Hope you guys are doing good today. Let me turn down the music. It is December 3rd. And boy, has a lot happened. Anyway, it's good to have you in the devotion. You can always check out the archives of these devotions at my YouTube channel at Bo Willette, which is right there. Bo Willette. So just go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Bo Willette, and you can go to my page, and there's all the playlists. Today we're going to do, it's right down there, Ezekiel 39. That's where we'll be this morning, and it's good just to be here, just to be in the place of doing a devotion. I am a little beat up, I must say. So, do I appreciate everybody praying and just all the love that people have given me. It's been absolutely beautiful. When you ride motorcycles or skate or surf or even sometimes just walk, right? And we never realize just what a risk life can be. And of course, I've always thought in my mind, everything I've done is always very risky. Whether I ski or whatever it is, I always tend to go pretty hard. But anyway, I come to you this morning with a very big break in my body. So I got a broken scapula and then 7 ribs right in a row. 3 through 9 are all broken as well. So if it sounds like I'm laboring a little bit, it's probably because I am a little bit, but it's good for me. I mean, the docs are so good to say, hey, try to get at it, try to get going, try to get get things moving in your body as much as you can, because right now I can't I can't do much. But doing a devotion, hey, why not, right? Let's get in there. So Ezekiel 39, that's where we're going to be. And as a church, we've had a lot. It seems like a big weekend for sure. And we had someone in the church pass away recently, so our hearts go out to that family. And then, of course, what happened to me on Saturday, that was announced, I think, at the church on Sunday. So, but man, the love's been awesome. It's been absolutely amazing. So I'll just be, doing some work in the background. It's hard for me not to work. I am definitely a worker bee. But God sometimes says, yo, bro, slow it down. So, yeah, Tina, it's good to have you here. Mike, it's great to see you, man. And glad you guys are praying for me. And what a team, man. That's the cool thing, man. The Church of Christ, man, what a team it is. Just a team of people, huge, and a very encouraging team for sure. So I definitely am appreciative of the church in every way. So let's read the chapter, see what it says. Ezekiel 39 goes along with 38. It says, Son of man, prophesy against Gog, give him this message of the sovereign Lord. I am your enemy, O Gog, ruler of the nations of Meshech and Tubal. I will turn you around and drive you toward the mountains of Israel, bringing you from the distant north. I will knock the bow from your left hand and the arrow from your right hand, and I will leave you helpless. You and your army and your allies will all die on the mountains. I will feed you to the vultures and wild animals, and you will fall in the open fields. For I have spoken, says the sovereign Lord, and I will rain fire down on Magog and all your allies who live safely on the coast, when they will know that I am the Lord. Okay, it seems like Israel's enemies have been being addressed by the prophet Ezekiel. And we get an idea of why this is being said. It's not just random. But remember, Israel is away from their land. They're away from the land of Israel. And they have been, in a sense, kicked out by Yahweh. And have you ever thought like, man, I blew it with God? Like I've blown it so bad with the Lord. There's no way, man, I can ever go back. I can never really go back and get right. You know, God ain't gonna, he ain't gonna restore me. There's just no way. Well, the interesting thing is what Ezekiel does is Ezekiel says, hey, yeah, you guys have blown it, Israel. But you have to know that Yahweh's holding all these nations accountable for what they do to you guys. That it's not just you guys that are being sifted out per se, judged, but it's the entire world, even the people from the north. Now, there's some specific things to this prophecy that are pretty cool, right? It says specifically that Yahweh will turn the king around from the land of the north, far north, it seems, distant north, and drive them towards Israel. It seems like they don't want to go to Israel, but they're going to be driven to go to Israel. And it says, and then God will do a miraculous judgment on not only this nation from the north, but all of her allies. They will be judged as well. Now, I talked how there's a lot of books written on this subject about this specific country being Russia of all countries. And that Russia, northern Turkey, southern Russia, however you want to look at it, but these people from the far north will have an alliance, and they will not like Israel, want to come against Israel. And they will be drawn into something in Israel to where it seems like a hook is in the nose of the prince of the north. And he will be pulled in a way to go into some kind of conflict that's happening in the Middle East, specifically with Israel. But notice it talks about Yahweh specifically judging them kind of in some miraculous ways. Rain of fire coming down, this kind of idea. But just think how this kind of went with the people of Israel that were in captivity in Babylon, hearing Ezekiel talk this way. Like, oh man, God He does see what's happening. He does see what these countries think of us. He does see how we've been treated. And we've seen little glimpses of how different countries have treated Israel. Kind of picking off their vulnerable, killing their old elderly, killing their kids, things like that. Just, in the outskirts, picking them off one by one when they travel, taking them out, this kind of thing. When people are vulnerable, bombing them. Do you see the similarity to our day? People just going on a subway, to work, and then a big bomb goes off in the name of God, in the name of some deity, but it's some vengeance against a people group or something, and so we're going to bomb everybody, and no one really has any opinion of anything. No one even knows what you're doing. But that's how some people are, where they will go to the most vulnerable and hurt them. And that kind of chips away at us too. Like, what am I like? Do I go to, in people's vulnerability, do I tend to exploit that and then hurt people? So when people are vulnerable to me, do I tend to exploit that? And hurt them. So judgment is happening to these nations. And it's to encourage the people of Israel to say, hey, you know what? God does see. He does know what's going on. And Paula, thank you so much for praying for me, my friend. It says, in this way, I will make known my holy name among the people of Israel. So this is one of the ways in which Israel is going to know their God. It's through this miraculous kind of judgment work that God does, which will once again exalt the name of God in the land of Israel. So it says, and I will not let anyone bring shame on it. What? That's his name. And the nations too will know that I am the Lord, the Holy One of Israel. That day of judgment will come, says the sovereign Lord. Everything will happen just as I have declared it. Now I find it fascinating that the God of the Bible kind of unites himself and says with Israel and says, I am the God, the Holy One of Israel. And he is to be seen as holy, as separate, as right. And he's going to move in a way, Yahweh's going to move in a way through the people of Israel that the world will know that he is holy and that Israel will know that he is holy. It's going to be something spectacular, something amazing. But all will come to know that God is holy. Of all things, that God is holy. This immutable attribute of God, holiness. He is distinct. He is not just some, random god out there like Zeus or Aphrodite or this kind of thing. He is the Lord, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the creator of all. So you really get the idea in this chapter that there's going to come a time when God will judge the nations of the earth, and it will be a very miraculous kind of thing. It'll be in such a way that people will know God. It won't be like, hey, I wonder if God's doing something. It won't be like that. It'll be very clear that this is the work of God. So it says, then the people in the towns of Israel will go and pick up your small and large shields, bows and arrows, javelins and spears, and they will use them for fuel. There will be enough to last them 7 years. They won't need to cut wood from the fields or forest, for these weapons will give them all the fuel they need. They will plunder those who plan to plunder them. They will rob those who plan to rob them, says the sovereign Lord. And I will make a vast graveyard for Gog and his hordes in the valley of the travelers east of the Dead Sea. It will block the way of those who travel there, and they will change the name of the place to the Valley of Gog's Hordes. It will take 7 months for the people of Israel to bury the bodies and clean the land. Everyone in Israel will help. Wow. For it will be a glorious victory for Israel when I demonstrate my glory on that day, says the sovereign Lord. So there's going to be some radical change takes place. I guess when God's judgment happens, there's change that does take place. I guess that happens in our own life too. When God tends to kind of discipline us, deal with us, there's change that takes place. Maybe I need to change something. Maybe there's, and then there's a cleanup process, right? Where all the dead bodies have to be taken away, right? Things change. The stuff that's corroded needs to go. Newness needs to come in. And that's what you sense as a real refreshing work here. I think it sounds a lot like our lives just in general. A lot of us on the planet. How, things change. God does a work. He becomes holy in our eyes. We see God as holy now, not an enemy, but we see him as holy, beautiful, perfect, righteous. His ways are good. And he comes into our world and he judges us. And man, do we need grace. And he gives us that grace. And then he just begins that cleaning process in our life. And it says, after 7 months, teams of men will be appointed to search the land for skeletons to bury. So the land will be made clean again. Wherever bones are found, a marker will be set up, so the burial crews will then take them to be buried in the valley of Gog's hordes. There will be a town there named Hamanah, which means horde. And so the land will finally be cleansed. And now, son of man, this is what the sovereign Lord says, call all the birds and wild animals and say to them, Gather together for my great sacrificial feast. Come from far and near to the mountains of Israel, and there eat flesh and drink blood. Eat the flesh of mighty men and drink the blood of princes, as though they were rams, lambs, goats, and bulls, and fatted animals from Bashan. Gorge yourself with flesh until you are glutted. Drink blood until you are drunk. This is the sacrificial feast I have prepared for you. Feast at my banquet table. Feast on hordes of the charioteers, the mighty men, and all kinds of valiant warriors, says the sovereign Lord. Now, what a picture. I mean, is not the Bible way cool? I mean, just the different kind of pictures that you get. I mean, here you have this feast, and it says, hey, let's call all the animals together. Let's call all these animals, let's say to all the birds and the wild animals from all over. Now, how many of us love animals? I mean, we just love our furry creatures. Well, this is your passage, right? You got furry creatures from all over. The God of the universe says, hey, all of you guys gather around, because there's going to be a big feast that I'm going to give you. It's almost like when have you ever gone out to eat and you've gotten a steak and you went like, dude, I'm going to save the bone for my dog. And you go, oh, they're going to be so happy. And you get this kind of impression with Yahweh that here, all this cleanup of the bodies, meaning this act of God that takes place in judging Gog, this land from the north and her allies, is going to be so great that there's going to need a major cleanup crew to clean the bodies. And then there's this picture. Is it literal? Is it not literal? I'm not going to debate that here, but there's certainly a picture here of all the creatures called from afar away to come together to this great feast. That's how gnarly this judgment will be. So, man, pretty crazy. And it says, in this way, I will demonstrate my glory to the nations. Everyone will see the punishment I have inflicted on them, and the power of my fist when I strike. And that's kind of an idiom that you see God using all the time, my fist. And it says, and from that time on, the people of Israel will know that I am the Lord God. The nations will know why Israel was sent away to exile. It was punished for sin, for they were unfaithful to their God. Therefore I turned away from them and let their enemies destroy them. I turned my face away and punished them because of their defilement of their sins. Radical. Israel would go away from the land for a time, and people would treat them bad. And the Jews would say, hey, where is God? Why is God allowing this to happen? And God's response would be, it's because of their sins. Man, there's a long act of judgment on the people of Israel. And you think of all the atrocities that have happened in the last 2,000 years to Israel. And when they were out of that land, all the difficulties. And Yahweh saying, this is what your punishment is. It's a judgment. A lot of times people go, man, like God has got favorites in the Bible or something like that. But don't you see what's happening? Yahweh is saying to his own people, like, you are going to be judged because of what you've done. And it's not some easy judgment. It is gnarly. And then he encourages them by saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to restore you. You're going to see I'm going to do an amazing work of grace and mercy in your life. A lot of us probably feel that way too, that God's done an amazing grace and mercy in our own life. And if it wasn't for his hand in our life, where would we really be? What would happen to us, right? God has done that great work in us too. But then it's also healing to know that God also knows how to judge the world. And this chapter says God will do that. He will do it thoroughly. And there will be a cleaning up process. God's able to judge those things that hold a grip in your life, that hold you down. God's able to judge those things. I got to trust God. God, you're going to judge that. And you're going to clean it up. I'm going to trust you to do that. But let me give you that judgment. You make that judgment. You judge that thing. You take care of that thing. You wipe it out. Let the animals have a feast on it. Right? For it's not worth anything. Right? Let the animals gorge themselves on it. But it's no longer alive to me kind of idea. I like that, So the end of it says, so now this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will end the captivity of my people. I will have mercy on Israel, for I jealously guard my holy reputation. They will accept responsibility for their past shame and unfaithfulness after they have come home to live in peace in their own land with no one to bother them. So they're going to come back into the land. There's going to be a relative peace. And God says that I am doing everything in Israel, and it's to be about me. It's about my reputation, how I'm known in the world. So Israel is very much linked to Yahweh. Why do people hate Israel? Again, why do people have a struggle with Israel as far as a people group? And I'm talking about like prejudice against Jewish people, against Hebrew people. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it has to do just with this, that Israel is super linked to Yahweh and Yahweh linked to Israel. That the way God's holiness will be made known to the world is through the people of Israel. And we should expect this to happen even in our day, that God will make himself known through this people group. Not that everything that the people group does is right, because we see that this is a stubborn people, one that have not turned their heart to Yahweh. And because of that, they've been punished. But there will be a restoration. They'll be back in the land, and one day they will spiritually be back with Yahweh. Until that time of their spiritual restoration, Israel's not going to be doing everything right. Am I pro-Israel? I'm pro-Israel as a nation. Am I like one of those yes people that everything Israel does is right? No, because nothing anybody does is right. There's only one that's good, and that is God. Does Israel do things wrong as a country? Absolutely. Do we do things wrong as a country? Absolutely. Yeah, we don't want to be yes people, but we have to understand that God is working in it all. He's working in them, and he's working in us. So it says they will be, verse 26, they will accept responsibility for their past shame and unfaithfulness after they have come home to live in peace. Hey, do I take responsibility for my action? Ooh, it's a good question. Verse 27, when I bring them home from the lands of their enemies, I will display my holiness among them for all the nations to see. Then my people will know that I am the Lord their God, because I sent them away to exile and brought them home again. And I will leave none of my people behind, and I will never again turn my face from them. For I will pour out my spirit upon the people of Israel, says the sovereign Lord, for I have spoken. So it seems like from this time on, there won't be any more issues with Israel. It seems like this is a final restoration. They're back in the land, and there's a spiritual awakening to the people. The Jews will be coming to their Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus, the strong arm of the Lord, the first and the last, the one that is spoken of so much in the Holy Bible, in the Old Testament, that is. They're finally going to come to that prophet, that one, that anointed one, and they'll look upon the one they have pierced, and they will cry out to him. So it sounds like a beautiful ending, and everybody will know why. What will they know? That God is holy. That everybody's going to finally go, man, you know what? God is right, and we are wrong. And this is what happens when we are converted. This is what conversion means. When we're converted, it means we now have, by grace, we've been given eyes to see the holiness of Jesus Christ in a way that moves us to want Him, need Him, adore Him, love Him. And we realize we've been given eyes to see just how much we need Him. And so we are moved to just throw ourselves at Jesus. And that's what it is. It shows the value of Christ. When I come to Christ, I'm showing the value of Christ, right? I'm showing His value as I come to Him. It's just like when a son comes to a father, it shows the value of the father. Just like when someone comes to the mother, a daughter comes to the mother, it shows the value of a mother, right? Just like when a college student thinks that the professor is awesome and that he knows everything about, quote, science, right? He's showing the value of that professor. Everybody in that sense is kind of got a Messiah. They got some kind of person that they're looking at. But conversion, spiritual awakening, is when you realize that you ain't the Messiah, nor is the person who's like you in the Messiah, meaning the person who's at your professor, your favorite band, your this, your that, your favorite sport character, your whoever, that they're not the Messiah. You realize that truly God is the Messiah. That it's God, the creator of the heavens and the earth, so different from you, holy, separated, perfect, sovereign. And man, you have that experience where you go, whoa, I'm in the presence of holiness, wholeness, me being not whole, God being fully whole, holy. So God's working out things to where Israel's conversion will be one where they are going to realize just how whole God is, just how perfect He is, just how right He is. And the nations will realize that too. Wow, pretty cool. So anyway, we definitely going to be praying for our friend Marcia as she goes into surgery. Today's a big day for her, so let's keep her in our mind. We've been kind of praying for her. And Christy says she remembers the days of asking for a doggy bag. Yeah, that was popular. I remember that growing up quite a bit, where you would go to like Sizzler or something and you would get a steak and get a T-bone and bring that bone back to the dog. So anyway, a very cool chapter, a lot of application for our own lives, even in this prophetic chapter 39 of Ezekiel. So hey, thanks. Be praying for me. Of course, I have tons of broken stuff. My lung is still a little jacked. So just working through that. But it's great to be back in with you guys. Let's keep our good friend in prayer, Marcia, and keep the church in our minds too. Just be praying for one another, okay? So you guys take care and have a good day, okay? Bye-bye.